Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just finishing this banger of a book. My apologies. Great stuff. Great stuff. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us, as always. Like my two wonderful co hosts said, we have a great show planned. Little news, little fun, a lot of mayhem, the usual. But we also have a fantastic guest, one that I am absolutely excited to make her Splash Pages debut. Great writer, wonderful laugh, mysteriously elusive, but absolutely respectful. You've seen her work on DC and Marvel, even other companies like Archie Comics, Captain Marvel, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Well, Sabrina, Black Widow, Deadpool, and right now, hot off the awesomely best-selling absolute Wonder Woman issue 1 with Hayden Sherman. Everybody, the one, the only Kelly Thompson.
Woohoo!
Hello. Woo!
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. I cannot tell you how many people that I was telling about this, they were like, no way. Like, I loved Absolute One. I was like, well, come on the show and tell her this. How would she know? You just gave her money. The lady wants to know,
It's been pretty cool. I've never, it's certainly the biggest thing I've ever done. And when you're doing something really big like that, I think the pressure really feels on, and you always figure even if it goes well, you're going to have a lot of people who are not into it. And like, I mean, I'm sure there's a few of them out there, but the response has been honestly really overwhelming. I've seen almost no negative feedback, and the positive feedback I've gotten has been incredibly personal and like powerful, like people saying they cried and like being really like powerfully moved by the messages in it and how they feel about the characters. And honestly, it's been really overwhelmingly wonderful to like feel like you've really written something that people are truly connecting with, like a lot of people on a large scale. I often feel like my work, I'm sure a lot of writers feel this way, like, you know, you feel like what you like and what you're interested in, it maybe isn't always the most popular thing, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to be the most popular, and you start to tell yourself that like things that are really popular like sometimes have the edges shaved off of them, and that's why they become popular. And like, oh, I don't want to be like that. I want the edges on it, and whatever. But it can be defeating to feel like you're not able to capture that larger audience without watering something down. And so I don't know, man, Absolute Wonder Woman. I think it's like the least watered down thing I've ever done. I would say it feels almost like a creator owned book to me in how sort of aggressive and powerful it is. So for it to resonate with people on such a large level, I mean, I think it's the most popular thing I've sold by like twice. I mean, because I know that Captain Marvel, that was a big launch and it was timed near the movie. So that really helped the sales and everything. But I think that was like 110,000 or something. And I think we're up near 200 or something. It's incredible. It's been really wonderful. And I really am grateful to the fans for like giving it a chance. I There was a lot of hesitation early on because all the imagery that was coming out was so like hardcore and metal, and that's a part of the book for sure. But I knew, and we all knew, that like there was this beating heart there inside. And so when people were freaking out about like, oh, I don't know, hardcore Wonder Woman, mean Wonder Woman, I don't like it when she's like that, when she's too warrior-y. And I was like, I get it. I was like, I beg you to read the first book because I don't think that's what you're going to find inside. I mean, yes, that's there, but there's also all this other stuff that works as a incredible contrast to it, in my opinion. And it's been really rewarding to see that, to see us be right and that pay off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember when it was first announced, Carrie, who's our kind of our show spooky expert and a cultologist, she was like, yes, finally a Wonder Woman for me. Carrie, do you want to back? Am I remembering right? I seem to recall, especially when she saw the sword, she was like, yes,
Yes.
she's going to go, Carrie.
I was just like, she's got us on bateau. Oh my God. I don't know if that's exactly what you're modeling it off of, but That's that was where I was like, I need that sword. I need to be in hell. And where she's raised, how you did everything, and I love the progression scenes, the way that you laid everything out and had it going. I honestly, I just loved everything about this, and I gotta say, I'm not the biggest Wonder Woman fan originally, so this has completely made me interested now in Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's you with your artist too. It's so beautiful what you guys did. Um, if Leo, can you go towards the last panel that you had up, because the one thing that I really enjoy is that's at the bottom of the panel. There's just her eyes when she says Amazon. At one point, it's
Oh
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. That is right there. That is just it. I got
yeah,
goosebumps when that
yeah,
pops up.
yeah. When I wrote this script, I just had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure anyone was going to let me do it because I knew it was weird. I knew it was like two named characters in the whole thing, and
Mhm.
from a usually a villain's point of view as far as the narration captions go. And while there's fighting and there's this origin stuff with her,
Mhm.
in other ways it's a very non-traditional first issue. But I was really proud of DC and my editor Chris and also Scott for just getting what I was trying to do
Mhm.
with what we were talking about who she was and her reclaiming of that with herself and how powerful it would be for her mission going forward, and also just to tell us everything we need to know about her. Um and I was very confident that this could work. The script, I really loved it. It sometimes made me cry, which I can't always trust because I get very attached to the characters. But it does tend to be a good sign if I'm writing something emotional and it's getting me, especially if it's getting me on multiple reads. Like, it's one thing on one read, but that's just a blueprint, because then I
Mhm.
have a whole team that's coming in and building it. And like, the way that end builds to that word is a very delicate thing to get that right. And man, Hayden just knocked it out of the park. And then Jordy came
Absolutely.
in, and Becca also, her lettering was just incredible in like building the world of this and how it all
Mhm.
feels. But Hayden is just masterful. The way they panel, the way they lay things out, the way they think. um I think the way the end, I don't know how many artists could do what he did in those last 3 or 4 pages, because it's a what they did in those last 3 or 4 pages, because it's really just a very tricky way to build something, because
Yeah.
especially because the ending is not the defeating of a thing or the reveal of a new thing, it's the reveal of her. And that's potentially a low note to go out on, because you've already met her. And
Yeah.
I argued pretty heavy that that's the point. She's the point, and
Mhm.
that's what we're here for. And and my argument was that her flying, which we hadn't really seen until that last page, you could argue you see it on that first double page spread, sort of, but her flying plus the reveal of the red lasso, like, plus this, that if we land it right emotionally, it's going to be enough. And I think I was right, but I don't think I could have done it without that team.
Oh yeah. So
It,
speaking of, the character, I mean, I feel like Wonder Woman is such a love letter to mythology. Like a lot of her great stories, are dealing with her place in the DC, this Greek pantheon, and then especially, with the Absolute Universe, you're deconstructing these characters' mythology and doing something new, kind of similar to, what we saw, I would say almost, I hate to say it, a decade ago with the New 52, where it was very much breaking the characters down and reinterpreting them in new ways. So, and especially you had this big change where there's no island, there's no training, and she's also raised by someone like, if you know Wonder Woman, Cersei is a big Wonder Woman villain.
Yeah.
They've had an animosity for years. So the two questions I have is, one, how much research did you have to do did you do any beforehand? And then how much fun did you have just being like, you know what, let's do this. Did you have vision board is not the word, but like a bulletin board, you had little flash cards up and you were like, and then the last question, so it's 3 questions. So that's that. And the second one is, are you listening to anything when you're doing this? Because I know, some comic writers, they're listening to movie soundtracks or anything. Are you listening to anything? Or you're like, nope, I'm with my thoughts, man. That's the movie soundtrack. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start with the last one. Yes, I create my own playlists for mostly for every book basically, and I
Oh my
use
God.
that partially as a Pavlovian thing just to like
Mhm.
trigger me a little bit
Right.
and to get me sometimes if you're in a great mood it's easy to write Jeff, but if you're in a great mood, maybe it's hard to write, Wonder Woman, like a very vengeancey moment in Wonder Woman or something. So
Mhm.
I do use music to like help get my state of mind right.
Okay.
I will say for anyone who wants to try it, I happened to be the first time I was reading a lettered proof of the issue, fully colored and everything. The first time I read it all the way through, I happened to be listening to Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name, and
Yes.
it's an excellent soundtrack for the first
Oh
issue.
my, yo. I'm a big Rage Against the Machine fan. So the fact that you said that, I'm like, that is that. Oh, man,
So
winning.
then I think the first question was like how much research did I need to do?
Yeah.
Am I a big Wonder Woman? So I'm a pretty broad spectrum Wonder Woman reader. I haven't read everything, but
Right.
I've toe dipped in most of it and I've read most of the more modern runs, certainly all the Rucka runs and
Hmm.
the Gail Simone runs,
Right.
and I've read a lot of the classic stuff with Jimenez and Perez and stuff.
Of course.
I haven't read a ton of like the original. I mean, I know the Marston, like the original
Yeah.
stuff. I'm not a big, for good or ill, I'm not a big classic comics fan. I have a big problem with the writing in classic comics because a lot of it is just explaining what the art is doing. And I find that incredibly annoying and the antithesis of what we're supposed to be doing. And like, listen, hats off to early comics creators who invented it and who broke the
Right.
ground and who hit all those ceilings. I'm not trying to crap on the guys of old, but it's just a personal thing. Like as a writer, I don't want to be reading captions that are describing what the art is beautifully already relaying, and that tends to be a real stumbling block for me in older comics.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'm like the number one original Wonder Woman fan.
Right.
But I do like all of the ideas of Wonder Woman, all the wackiness and the weirdness and the darkness.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
very big even separate from Wonder Woman, I'm a very big mythology fan. And so I have a lot of broad knowledge base. I mean, one of my favorite classes I took in college before I transferred to an art school or an art college was a Greek mythology class. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
maybe would have transferred and made that my major if I could envision what I would be doing with that degree.
Right.
So I have a lot of knowledge in that respect. I just naturally I'm very interested in those things.
Hmm.
Um, Specifically to trying to do this, I reread some pieces here and there, especially some of Rucka's stuff. Some of his stuff is some of my favorite plotting stuff, like the
Right.
Eyes of the Gorgon story, things like that.
Right.
Hykatia, things like that. But
Hmm.
Gail Simone's Wonder Woman was weirdly the Wonder Woman that first helped me fall in love with the character.
Hmm.
She really cracked it open for me. Gail's Wonder Woman, she just had more of a softness and a sense of humor about her. She seemed more like a person that I could have a conversation with. And I had felt like until that point, there's sometimes some like coldness or reservedness that people write in the way they write her. Even Greg Rucka, who's one of my favorite writers, who's a great Wonder Woman writer,
Hmm.
it was a weird thing where I always liked his stuff, but I liked it more after I read Gail's stuff, which I'm sure it's not true for everybody, but I think for me, it's a good key about how things change for me once I already love a character. So like all the Greg Rucka stuff just read a little differently to me after I really loved Diana. And the first time I read his stuff for her, I just didn't love her that much. I was interested in her. Thought she was cool, but it was Gail that really helped me fall in love with her and see all these different sides of her. But what I really read as I went deep into, I was really struggling with this pitch. I was very close to having to quit and tell Scott I'd burned up all his runway or a lot of his runway trying to figure out a pitch that I couldn't figure out. All of the ideas I had tried were dead ends, or I just didn't like them. It just wasn't the book I wanted to write for her. And so I reread all of Historia, the 3 volumes of Historia, which were incredibly informative to reminding me what you could do with this, what you should do with this, what I wanted to do with this, like the very soul of everything. I just don't think it can be done, the origins and all of that. It just can't be done better than that. And so I was really feeling all of that and very inspired by that. And then I was also reading or rereading. I happened to get an Kingdom Come, like a digital special edition that had scripts in the back and all this process stuff and sketch work and all of this. And it was really helpful to read those 2 things at the same time. One of them entirely being about the origins of Diana and everything that should surround her. And the other one being about how do you break down and remake these iconic characters in interesting ways? How far can you bend them and how far is too far and all of that? And the process stuff in the back was particularly helpful, even more so than rereading Kingdom Come itself. I think the process stuff was very inspiring and interesting. And so those 2 things together, I had this whole page of notes that I mostly scribbled out and crossed out because I just didn't think anything had legs or I wasn't interested in it. But one note I had was, which Wonder Woman raised in hell by an enemy? And then I had like Circe with like 5 question marks written next to it. And like that was this one thing where I was like, I can do something with that. That's interesting even before I know who it's about. Raised by an enemy, what is all that about? This brings up a lot of interesting questions. And then Circe is, of all of mythology, she's one of my favorite characters, independent of Wonder Woman. I feel mixed about her in Wonder Woman stories. I think there are some really good ones out there. Sometimes they're not really my kind of thing. But the mythology of the Circe I am very interested in, and I thought there might be a really great bridge there for me to create a very interesting version of Circe that talks to those other versions, but is really her own person. And that just became, I don't know, more than any pitch I've ever done, including creator owned, quite honestly, it just opened up for me and it just worked. It just flowed. It felt like exactly the right thing. And I honestly was just hoping nobody was going to get in my way. And I was very lucky that they didn't. And then after nobody got in my way, they gave me these incredible collaborators who also totally get it, above and beyond being just exceptional at what they do. We're all just very on the same page. And I think it takes that kind of cohesive vision from a team to get a book that hits like this and has this kind of response. And I'm really honored to be a part of it, quite honestly.
That's awesome. I just want to share, I don't know if you can see, I was able to grab 5 of the variants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we showing off? Are we showing off our copies?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it was show and tell. No. Kelly, you have to understand, Leo is that fan that when he sees a book, he's like, how many variants are there? I'll take one of each. So he's that fan.
Or 41.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. He has all of Jim Lee and Chris Claremont's X-Men issue 1, the Guinness World Record holder. But he was like, you know what? I might need one for every day. And if I get fingers on it or chocolate. So we asked him, how many copies you have? He said, 42. And I'm just like, get the hell.
It was the 90s. I admit I was part of the problem of the fall of the comics of the 90s. So it's
I listen, so were my brother and I. My brother Scott and I were religious reader. We were when we discovered comics together because of the X-Men animated show. We were fanatical about it. We were buying up everything we could, but we had a separate box because we were collecting X-Men and we're like, well, we're going to read these, but then we'll keep this box mint condition. We'll never touch them. And we had a whole run of
Wow.
through I think through 50. I think at 50 we stopped.
Right.
My dad, who is a great guy. I'm sorry, Dad, for saying this on a comic podcast because everyone's gonna not like you now. He was just like, they're not worth anything. I'm like, no, I'm looking in this magazine. They are gonna be worth something. And he's like, they're worth what someone will pay for it. How much can you sell it for? I was like, I mean, nothing. I don't know anybody, and it's 1996 or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But it was we're all speculators a little bit. I mean, listen, I have a lot of feelings about the variant cover stuff. Like, it does seem really excessive and frustrating to me in a lot of ways, but also, we all love artists.
Oh, yeah.
We just like cool art so much. It's what we're so here for. And it's hard to resist. I mean, I fell into it even when I was doing Black Cloak and the Cull, these two creator owned books I did last year. We ended up with like 10 variant covers for issue 1, and it was because, well, you can find out Jeff Deacle and Tula Latae are going to do covers for you. Like, how do you say no to that? Dyke
You
Ruin?
don't.
No, please, thank you.
Yeah,
It's hard to say no. It's such
absolutely.
cool stuff, but it's not super good for the environment or maybe the industry. I don't know.
And, but
Hard to
no,
say.
yeah, it
Well,
is. It is definitely hard. And I just want to say, Kelly, is that your dad? Because if we're bringing up questionable adults' feelings about comics, my grandfather, God rest him, was a little worse than it because for my mom, it wasn't about he would burn them.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yes,
Yikes.
and when I say that this hurt me, my mom, she doesn't remember, but she believes she might have had the first appearance of the Green Goblin.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. So literally to me, I heard this, I was like, there is a stake through my comic book heart. And it was just like, I was like, oh my God. And I just wanted to ask the man, I was like, why? Why was your pyromania so great that it just burned away your love?
That's that's
Why?
that's terrible. I don't have anything like that. I mean, my mom, I had this amazing paper doll collection when I was really little that my
Mm,
mom threw out either on accident or on purpose, and I was
yeah.
devastated. So I can't even imagine
Oh yeah.
with comics, which I was so much more attached to.
Oh, 100%. And it's also funny because you brought up Kingdom Come. We had Mark Waid on earlier, and now we're going to tell him. I was like, by the way, just want to let you and Alex, Ross, know you guys helped kind of make Absolute Wonder Woman happen a bit. Like she's going to thank you later. She meets you in person. And side note, if you do meet him in person, just we're passing this knowledge along. If you give him a Diet Coke, you'll be his best friend forever. So just
I've met Mark Wade. I've been at multiple summits with him.
oh, there you go. We didn't
He's
know
a
the
great
Diet
guy.
Coke cheat code, but we saw him at Terrificon, and we were his favorite people. It's like, you guys just keep bringing me Diet Coke. You said you like it, like and we did.
I
Yeah.
he There's a funny factoid about me and Mark Wade here. I don't know that he will find it funny, but I find it funny, is
Oh, he's a
that
good human guy. He'll find it
when
funny.
I was a teenager, I wrote my first and only, I believe, letter I ever wrote to comics. I wrote to Marvel Comics about X-Men, about a Gambit and
Mhm,
Rogue story, and it was
mhm.
published in an issue that Mark Wade wrote.
Oh my God, that's
it's,
awesome.
it's a funny little nerdy Easter egg, I guess.
Now,
Mark Wade and my early connection.
so you know what this means is that now we have to find the issue that has your letter, and then should we ever meet you, we're like, could you sign this for us?
I mean,
Flip it back.
honestly, that's a great nerd find if someone can get me to sign that someday. But I think
Carrie.
it was, I can't remember which issue number it was, but it's the one with Jean. I think it's the one with Jean Grey on the cover, and she has onslaught like burned into her forehead. So like 52 or something. I don't know, somewhere in there. I think that's the number. I dug it up years ago, but I've forgotten now.
challenge accepted.
Yeah, no, I like you don't understand. Like Carrie is our research person. Like she'll find it and she'll get it and she'll have it. And like you like we're gonna mark my words, everybody. We're gonna make this happen. Okay. And when we do, there will be maybe a photographic proof of that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Maybe.
I can't wait for my super embarrassing letter, and it was embarrassing to show up on Bleeding Cool. Great.
No, wait, okay. But to kind of pivot away from absolute just a bit, because again, I can say we all loved it, right? Right,
Yeah,
Leo?
I wanted to bring up something else, but it can.
Oh no, Leo, let's finish the thought and then we
Okay.
pivot to other things.
Yeah,
You
sounds
speak, big guy. Go.
Yeah. So just a couple things really quick. You mentioned somebody saying that, an evil Wonder Woman, but as you know, I mean, well, you wrote it totally the opposite, but I absolutely love where like you have these creatures trying to kill her every single day and she's winning them over with like her love.
Yeah.
We do a Batman show on the weekends, and I had the guys read all three absolutes. So we did absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman, and absolute Superman, and we all agreed like the absolute Wonder Woman was the strongest out of the bunch.
Wow.
Um,
Thank
now,
you. I mean, that's incredibly high praise. Thank you, because those
oh,
other books are great too. So
oh,
Oh
it's
yeah.
amazing.
oh,
Oh yeah.
they're absolutely amazing, but yeah, for the story wise, definitely, we found the Wonder Woman story to be definitely a lot stronger, especially like Superman. It seemed like they were trying to tell too much in that book at once, and I think they should have like spread it out. And Batman was friggin' amazing. I'm a huge Batman fan, but story wise, definitely the Wonder Woman was the strongest. Now, I know we don't want to spend all our time on this, but
I mean we could, but I mean we did read all this, you know. Uh, and by the way, Kelly, it was X-Men issue 53. And
53. I was
at
so close.
53, you were. And I have it up here because this is the best part about doing a podcast is you can do this from your computer. And I'm just scrolling. Leo, while you're talking, no, I'm listening to you, buddy. You're doing great. But I'm
oh,
just scrolling because I just want to see, her official Marvel work.
The embarrassing letter.
It's not.
I believe I complain about the art, which is so tacky. It's awful. Anyway, whatever.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great, Leo. Keep going. I had found it. It's just,
so my question is compare, with the Trinity, I know you can't tell too much, but have you been in heavy discussions with absolute Superman, absolute Batman as of, bringing the Trinity together? Is this going to be a solo book for like the next year? I
I can't give you guys hard dates because A, I don't think it's probably my
exactly.
place, and B, it's still being figured out. But I will say that like we have a bi-weekly absolute meeting where we're all with creatives and the editors. So it's
Oh, nice.
pretty tightly, nobody's gonna be making any moves without sort of everyone else knowing. We know that, fans are really excited to see, just as an example, the Trinity meet or interact or become aware of each other. Like, so I think everyone is aware of like how important those moments are in the mythology of these characters. And honestly, there's a lot of pressure on getting that moment right and making it the most exciting, most interesting thing it can be, and hopefully a little bit unexpected. So it's all definitely being discussed. But I can't share what it's going to be yet. I wouldn't
okay.
expect I wouldn't expect that to happen too soon. I think you're certainly going to be into everybody's, I would guess, probably third arc. If I don't know if everybody's got the same system. What we're doing, 5 issues to 5 issues to like that, with two with an alternate artist.
Mhm.
So I would think the earliest you would maybe start seeing stuff like that is like the issue 8s and things, but it might
Mhm.
be closer to a year. But it's all being figured out. It's pretty exciting. It's fun to work on something that everyone is sort of pulling in the same direction on, which despite comics best efforts. And sometimes that works out great. It often doesn't work out that way despite your efforts. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's pretty cool to have it all being sort of tightly controlled, but at the same time, I've honestly sort of never felt more freedom so far. I don't know that that will always feel that way, but right now it does. I mean, it almost feels like doing a creator owned book with the support of a giant behemoth behind you, which is awesome. It's incredible.
Nice.
That's
Very nice.
absolutely love to hear. And I know you can't go into absolutes, pun intended. But
Get it. It was just
uh, it, do we know yet? Is this going to be, sort of like a ongoing series, or is there a plan that this is, going
I
to
think
eventually end?
all the absolute books that have been announced that I know of are intended to be ongoing books.
Awesome.
I think that always depends on interest though. The line will have to remain very popular for everyone to continue and for the line to continue growing. I think there might be some books, hopefully the absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman especially can maintain like a really strong readership and like be the base for that. I think you might get miniseries coming in here and there. Like, I don't know what the specific plans are for each thing to be how long it is, but I know Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are all intended to be ongoing. I never like saying that because it really depends on reader interest. Honestly, the market decides. But I will say that the opening gambit for these smashed all expectations, so that's good. That's where you want to start.
Nice. Okay.
Totally.
And
Yeah,
you
like
have
all.
two.
Oh, go for it, Carrie.
Okay.
I was just saying you have two incredible collaborators when you do bring the three together as far as writers go. So it's I can't wait to see that either. That's just going to be amazing.
It's really exciting.
Y-
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Well, all three are in my pull list, so it's I'm
indeed.
supporting.
Same here. So kind of
They
pivoting
would be
away.
in mine, but I'm having issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay, Carrie. It's okay. They suck. But yeah, so kind of pivoting to heartbreaking, I feel my co-host would definitely agree. Your Black Widow with Elena Casagrande. I mean, that story was just devastating.
Thank you.
And again, like I appreciate it on so many levels. One, I appreciate it because I'm a big fan of Total Recall, and I felt Total Recall-ish. Um, and like the seriousness of it was amazing. Like I was talking to Carrie about it today before the show, and she was just talking about the ending when everything kind of is coming together but falling apart at the same time was
Yeah.
just devastating. Um, and what I also enjoyed is that again, you have like this serious moment, tons of serious moments with that, and then you still have like the humor peppered. But the one thing that I need to say that I absolutely just wrecked me in terms of hilarity, naming the cat Logan. I just thank you because I mean, I've seen kids named Logan, I've seen cars named Wolverine, everything, but a cat named Logan, I was like, this is the best. And then how salty Clint was about not being included in any of this, and then it was like, you know that was all them, right? And
Yeah,
like,
I didn't name the cat.
yeah, I didn't name the cat. It was like, oh, uh, okay, we're good.
I thought I love to play with Clint. He's a favorite character. I really enjoy him, but I also enjoy sort of, I don't know. I think Clint is very everyman, right? And
mhm.
it's so easy for us to get our feelings hurt and get hung up on a thing that isn't even a thing, but we don't ever get to have those conversations, or we are afraid to have those conversations. And so I love that he just like said it, and she was like, "You idiot. It's not a thing." um but it was also really important in that book because, the hardest trouble I had with that book honestly was the Clint shippers and the Bucky shippers because I mean, man, never the twain shall meet. Like you're just everyone has a really good argument for her to be one or the other of those guys, and it's sort of a
Mhm.
no-win situation, especially because to me, she's just a different person with each of them, and that's part of why I think with Clint, it's part of why it maybe never would go the distance. Like, I feel like they could have a kid together or whatever, but they wouldn't just be together forever. He's too light for her in some way. And like
Mhm.
Bucky gets her darkness, but in a way, he's too dark for her in a way. So I honestly think the perfect situation for those three would be like a really great throuple relationship where they're just co-parenting a child or something together, like they'd be perfect. But having her have to choose between them always feels very wrong for me. And it was a little bit part of it wasn't entirely, but it was a little bit how the conceit for it came up was I didn't really want her with either of them. I wanted to show her being the Black Widow. She's a star. She doesn't need either of them, but they're her friends and it's this connected, complicated relationships that they all have. And they're sort of beautiful, even if they're a little unconventional and not exactly what the fans always want, you know?
Uh,
But it was a bit of a struggle with the knowing people really felt so powerfully that Clint was right and Bucky was wrong, or Bucky was right and Clint was wrong. And meanwhile, I just want her to be able to stand there on her own, you know?
I'm sorry. As you're explaining this, like I just for some reason imagine like a remake of Three Men and a Baby, and it was Clint. It was Clint, Bucky, and Wolverine. Like I'm just like three people, and then taking care of Nat's baby, and just hijinks. And it was we need to save this kid, or her mother is going to kill us, all of us, and I will remain dead. And I'm just like, oh my god, that would be amazing. But you know, it's that's just where my brain goes. So Carrie,
this
Leo, yeah.
This
Mhm.
page you have up, that's one of my favorite panels, that last panel on the first page with the silhouette of mother and child and Clint just looking through. God, look how good Elena is. My God, I love that panel.
Oh yeah, she's a great artist.
Beautiful.
Absolutely, like yeah, the whole thing. But I was just like devastated. Like I remember reading this when I was working with Screen Rant, and I had to cover. I wrote an article about this, and I was just like, wow, this is like. I remember reading. I was like, wow, this is heartbreaking. Like, and I similar to Carrie, not having really read much Wonder Woman until a certain thing. I was like, I didn't really read much Black Widow alone. It was always, part of the
Yeah.
Avengers
Right,
or
right.
with
Yeah.
somebody. So reading this, I was like, good Lord, this is devastatingly good. Like, God damn.
Well, thank you.
So you're welcome. So just wanted to say that. But yeah, it was beautiful. But just rereading it, and I was just like, I was just there's also like that. And I just imagined like a buddy cop that was Bucky, that was no, yeah, it was Winter
Yeah.
Soldier and Clint, and I'm like, that
Yeah.
nothing would get done. It would just be a shit ton of bickering. You
It
know.
was I was a little bit picking up on I was worried that it was going to be too repetitive and so instead we just leaned into it, but Matt Rosenberg had done a great little Bucky and Clint and Hawkeye
Mhm.
uh thing that they were looking for Widow and I was like, shit, I don't want to repeat that. I was like, well, we'll just lean into it and we'll be like, we can't keep like running all over the world looking for her, like, and it ended up working out great and I was able to sort of build on the really fun relationships that had already been there and that Matt had developed a little bit as well, and it was
Mhm.
fun. I just love those characters. I'm a big sucker for I fall in love for characters.
I like the Jeff
Yeah.
Jamas too. Those are cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We need to get those for PJ.
yeah,
Totally.
my little
Huh.
Jeff the Land Shark cameos. We'll get him in any way we can.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna ask that. So we have the Jeff pajamas, and then I think in Ghostbusters there's actually a stuffed Jeff on a couch. Uh, how many issues or comics do you try to sneak Jeff in?
Well, I don't think I put him in Ghostbusters. He wasn't created yet when that was out, so I don't know what that is, but he's popped up in a lot of things. But usually I don't ask for him. Occasionally, I did
Okay.
suggest these might be Jeff pajamas. I think later he appears as a stuffed animal in the room or something. in Black Widow. But like one of the ways Jeff started to gain traction and become really famous was either, but it was during the pandemic. So I
Mhm.
think it was while he was appearing in Deadpool, or maybe
Yeah.
just after, I don't know. But
Something like
they were the Gurihiru, the artists who draw his strip on Marvel Unlimited. It's Jeff,
that.
and who have drawn other things, including a really fun Jeff Venom one shot that comes out this month.
So good.
Yeah, it's really fun. They're
Oh,
so
yeah.
terrific. But so they started drawing him into the background of things just because they liked him. The first thing they did was that I saw, they put him in this exhibition poster for like a Tokyo exposition that was like Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel and Gwenpool and whatever, and they put him in like a dog harness and he was like on the street and people flipped out. I mean, the whole poster was gorgeous, but Jeff was definitely a standout. Everyone was like, "What is this shark with legs? What's happening?" And then, they just really liked him, and so they kept drawing him into things. So like you'd see him on Peter Parker's boxers, and he'd be a mug that Captain Marvel had, and he'd be a fridge magnet in the Hulk's house, and like it was just
Mhm.
all this funny stuff. And he sort of took on this almost like viral quality, and it just grew and grew, and now he's like threatening to take over everything. It's pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, um, so and as a Ghostbuster fan, I have to bring up deviations. Be, you know, and and here's the best part is I'm actually gonna let my co-host above me take this one because we asked about it. The puffs, Carrie, do you
Oh,
want to take this
I
one?
actually, I want to ask one more one more Black Widow question because I didn't get to mention anything on that
Oh,
one before
okay,
we
cool.
go
Go,
into
okay,
this. But
go, Carrie.
okay, so it just occurred to me when I was reading it earlier today and Drew called me, I was mentioning how she reminded me of a paper doll and
No.
in one of the things, and then you said that you collect paper dolls, and it's like Black Widow has that, like she's able to take the person and then just change her into somebody different
Yeah.
constantly. Did you
Yeah. I mean, I
use that
don't
as
think
inspiration at all, or?
I don't think I connected that, but I totally think you're right. Like that is like it's a like a especially because a paper doll, you're putting on a whole personality. Like sometimes it's just clothes, but sometimes it can be a whole like there's a head piece and everything. So it really is like a full like spy changeover. And that's funny. I never really thought about it like that, but that's totally a thing. That's funny.
Okay,
You
so
see?
now the other thing is, what is with marshmallow poop?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was a little
Sentient.
I was a little pre-mad slash really excited that I might get a check when I saw they were making them in the movie, like the
Right,
little ones.
the little
But
puffs.
then I learned that they had actually been used before I did this. I thought I just fully came up with this on my own. I don't think they were exactly the same as what I did, but there was some ideation of them existing
Hmm.
as sentient little things or little marshmallows or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I think I was trying to lean I'm not a really gross person, so I was trying to lean into that wacky grossness, which I don't do that well, and I thought it's a great way to like say that they're poops and have that be gross, but then have them just be like cute and clean and pure and white is like a real funny way to address it.
Hmm.
Um, but I liked the idea that they've been around for I love that one with the face pushing through in the top panel. I love the idea that they've been around for a while and then everyone was
Okay.
horrified to realize what they were. It was pretty fun for me.
Oh yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. This was very, very early work for me, which I always feel like when I go back and read my old work, I always feel like it's overwritten. Like I'm looking at that panel and I'm like, Kelly, that's way too many balloons on there. Just
No, 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 no,
cut a
no,
joke
no,
or
no,
two. It
no,
won't kill you. But
no,
anyway,
no, Kelly,
it was
Kelly,
so fun.
we talked about that,
Yes.
and me and Carrie have read people who use a lot of word balloons, and you I mean you did, but you're not on a Brian Michael Bendis or what was it? What was the other one? Carrie Alan Moore, right?
Alan Moore. Yeah, you're no Alan Moore, man. Your
Well, I
conversation
mean,
all makes sense and is necessary.
yeah, but I
It
mean,
has a point.
you guys are comparing me like two of the greatest icons in all of comicdom. So maybe we be careful there.
No, but because God, what was it? I was reading. I was reading because it's funny you said I occasionally would reread things in my collection, and I remember I was reading one Bendis book, and I'm like, this book is nothing but talking.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't think anybody literally lifted up from this fucking table. They just sat and talked, and I'm like, it's Bendis, you know. So, it.
I think we all really have. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I assume I'm not alone in this, that there's a there's an overriding thing that happens to a lot of us when we're younger, that's either
Mhm,
there's an ego thing. I don't think you process it as ego, but I think it probably is a little bit ego, where you don't want to cut a good bit even if it makes the issue better, or you
mhm,
don't want to lose this thing, or but it's really important to me that the writing feels like it fits on the page, that we're not covering something up just to get in some line of dialogue that I like or whatever. And so I'm always, especially now as I've gotten better, I really try to make sure I'm making the comic the best it is and not just the writing the best it is. I hope when I go back to it, because that's what this is. This is a collaboration. I do a blueprint, then someone else comes on and brings all of this to it themselves, their perspective,
mhm,
their ideas, all of it. And then a colorist brings it to it, and then a letterer brings it to it, and then it's my job to go in and be like, okay, now what do I do now? Am I cutting back? Am I adding? Does it all
right.
work? Are there places where they've done my job for me and I can cut this text? Like, I'm always looking for that. And I do think it's sort of a thing that you just learn. The more comics you write, the more you go back and look at your old work. It's one of the reasons I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, you read your old work. And I'm like, yeah, how else would I get better and like figure out where I still need to work on things? I
That's
definitely look at
absolutely.
my old stuff. And
Mhm,
I
like I look at A Force, which was one of the first things I did for Marvel,
right.
and I really love that book. I think it's super fun, especially the stuff that I did with Ben Caldwell. I love those issues, but there are
Mhm,
definitely places where if I wrote them today, I might have written the same script, but it wouldn't have come out the same way by the
right.
time we got to the end, because I would have cut a lot of stuff to
But
just, let Ben's work soar, and not weight it down so much.
well, and like you said, that's how you know you've grown as a creator. You can look back and you're like, I would have done this a little differently, but like you said, it's still good. You still love it. Still, you're still proud of
Yeah,
it.
I
It's not,
still really like
you
it.
know,
I really like it. I just think I like writing fun characters. I like trying to have them bounce off each other and go on
mhm.
fun adventures. And it's most of the time not that serious, although we've talked about Absolute Wonder Woman and Black Widow mostly, which are two of the most serious things I've ever done. So,
Right. And
arguably.
well, yeah, and then we can always pivot to Sabrina. I mean, I will say this: reading Sabrina, the only knowledge I have of Sabrina is watching the Melissa Joan Hart show
Oh wow.
religiously when I was a kid. So when I'm reading the book, I'm hearing those voices.
Oh, that's funny.
So, I mean, Sabrina, not as much. I was like, no. I mean, kind of. But like Hilda, Zelda, I'm like, yeah, it was the ants. And then especially anytime Salem talked, that's
Yeah.
what I like, that dry, like, feed me. Like, I'm just like, oh God. But that's great, you know?
I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, I've seen that show, but I wasn't a huge fan of that. So that wasn't a big touchstone for me. The hardest thing
Mhm,
for me with Sabrina was just that the Chilling Adventures it was both a show, which I sort of wasn't watching deliberately because I was trying to do something different and separate from that. But
mhm,
then, that comic is incredibly cool. But that's not what we were doing. And it was a little hard to be like, let's find this space that is more like a Hawkeye space, a slightly more YA high school space,
mhm,
but that is still going to be fun and cool and feel like Sabrina. It felt hard to compete with Chilling Adventures, because I don't know if you guys remember this, but because he went off to do the show and things like that, or I think because of that, the book hadn't been coming out and people were just really sad. They really loved it. It was super cool. uh
mhm.
Aguirre Sakasa and
Yeah.
Hack,
Mhm,
right? And it was just really cool. And people were sad. And I was very nervous when our book started coming out, because I was like, man, I don't know if people who want Chilling Adventures are going to be interested in this, because it's a completely different, like more sort of Buffy-esque tone to it, you
right.
know? But I think the fishes especially just level that up so much. Their work is so beautiful. Their colors especially always really like blow me away.
Hmm.
Veronica has such a gift with I think Sabrina most of all. She does everything well, but Sabrina, she just I don't know, she just feels sort of born to draw Sabrina to me. And it was really fun to work with them. And it was fun to do magic. I mean, I'm ending up writing a lot of magic these days, which I like, but is a
Hmm.
little intimidating. It was fun to do it in Sabrina where it's a little lighter, even as it's dark. There's a lightness to all of it and like a relatability to it that's maybe a little less intense. It was fun.
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Uh,
I feel like I'm talking too much. Carrie, go.
mm,
Well,
oh,
just wanna
oh
just a
yeah.
heads up, we do have a hard out. So Carrie, I'll let you get
We can go a little bit longer. It's okay.
Okay.
We're fine. Yep, I've got a few more.
go for it, Carrie.
I was gonna say I watched the Netflix Sabrina, and you killed it. It wasn't that. It was its own thing entirely. And you had, I mean, obviously there's some of the same characters and stuff because it's Sabrina, but I think you did really good with keeping it lighter than everything because they got almost dredged down really hard with they got silly in a lot of things that they did where they over like we're gonna make the upside down sign of the cross and you can't say it's just like
Right.
what are you doing and you had a
Yeah.
nice fun story and yeah you did
Thanks.
have some darkness in it but and with your dialogue and you're saying that you you have great internal thoughts going on and you spend a lot of time with your dialogue though explaining things so that people doing the I don't know it's hard when I mean obviously you can show with the pictures don't tell but having people explain themselves to each other I think you balance that really well with the internal thoughts and then the conversations to keep us in line of what all's going on so
Thanks. Thanks. When they were first interested in me writing Sabrina, Chilling was out or had been coming out, and I was like, "Oh, I got to be honest, guys. I don't know if I can handle that." Like, we're talking about because in that it's like they live on a cemetery, and the idea is that like they're eating the dead and stuff, which is really dark. And I'm like, I don't really know if I'm your right writer for that. Like, and they were like, no, 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 we want something, this should be really separate from that. They're going to keep doing that book, and that's great. We're happy about that. But this should be a different thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then let's talk. So, and, we sort of landed here, which I thought was a really great place for Sabrina. I think we would have kept doing more, except for the second volume came out in the middle of the pandemic, and it just slaughtered us. It just slaughtered us. It's why it's the second volume basically sounds like there's going to be a third volume, and it's because we were all talking about it, and then the pandemic just ate us alive. So
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. I totally thought that. I was like, oh wow, what are we gonna do next? And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, we had the two volumes, so then they were great. I will definitely say, like, Sabrina definitely gave me that kind of Buffy vibe, especially because I remember there was a moment where I believe it's in the second volume. She's conducting a spell, or Radka, and she's just sitting down, and the girl keeps moving, and she's just like, every time you move, it takes this much longer. So sit still.
Yeah,
And it was just I was like, oh yeah. Now that you said, I was like, that is so Buffy. It
yeah,
was
it's a
that,
little.
and then when they had the horror movie night,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you had that. They're watching. What was it? The aunt said, "You just watched a horror movie. You're not walking more than 20 feet outdoors. Like,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
take you home." I'm like, "Okay." It was great. Yeah, no, like again, and that's the thing. You're juggling so much in the story, and it moves, and I kind of Carrie, I'm piggybacking off of you. Like, the story moves so well. I mean, you've got the stuff with the ants and the magic and the love triangle, and then all this weird shit is happening in this town. It's not the town of fucking practical magic where it's like, oh, everybody knows you're a witch. It's more like there's some stuff here, but everybody seems to be trying to keep it clear. Like, it's basically Sunnyvale. Like, there's a lot of weird shit happening, but everyone's trying to be chill.
I
You
just
know?
think, Sabrina has got like really great roots in any kind of YA story where, you're half witch, you're half human, and you're straddling those two worlds, and they're constantly in conflict. And how do you honor two sides of yourself? I think these are very relatable conflicts. You know, you don't have to be a witch, you can be biracial, you can be, you know, have an atheist parent and a religious parent. Like,
Hmm.
there's all these different ways in which we all wrestle with different aspects of ourself, and how are you being true to one if you're denying the other. So I think there's a lot of just very relatable growing up stuff baked into the concept of Sabrina that really lends itself to treatments like Buffy or a YA Kate Bishop or whatever. So
Yeah.
it felt very natural to. I mean, that's sort of been my bread and butter for the most part. You know, I did a Nancy Drew volume for Dynamite that has that same kind of a thing. You're a high school student, but you're also a brilliant investigative detective, and you get into
Right.
all these shenanigans. Like, you know, that sort of dynamic comes very naturally to me. I spend a lot of time with my head in that space. So
Okay. Very nice. Leo, do you have anything?
No.
Because
As always, I do.
I know. So, buddy, garçon, if you
I
can,
I appreciate that. So,
you're welcome.
Kelly, with the absolute crushing it of absolute that has been happening. So you're getting a lot of people reading your work now, um, saying they fall in love with your writing style, which they should. What do you recommend for them to go to next to look at some of your past work?
Um, well, I mean, it's hard not to recommend the creator-owned stuff I did recently and I'm doing right now. Black Cloak is on its second volume. That's got a sort of very cool, almost animated style to it, done by Meredith McLaren. These incredible art and colors by Meredith. It's a detective, it's a procedural in a set in a fantasy sci-fi world. The first volume is like 180 pages, so it's a very good value for your trade
Mhm.
paperback money. It's also just beautiful. And we've got 2 issues left of the second volume. Issue 10 comes out next week, I think, or the 20th or whatever that is.
Yes.
And then I've got The Cull I did with Mattia D'Elius, who is an incredibly talented artist who I worked on Jessica Jones with at Marvel. Some people may have also seen us collaborating on a Birds of Prey short that was in Batman recently, where he drew
Mhm.
a big Barda that sort of broke people's minds. He's just an incredible guy. We did a creator owned together called The Cull. That trade is out now. I think that's some of my best work as well. I'm writing Birds of Prey right now. I'm
Yeah.
writing some It's Jeff stuff. I do think Black Widow is one of my favorite things that I would urge people who like Absolute Wonder Woman to check out. I think they're a little more. I think Absolute Wonder Woman and Black Widow are some of the more adult stuff I've done, some of the more layered and intense stuff that is a little more serious. There's always levity in my work. I don't really think even the most serious people still crack jokes, man. So there's always levity in my stories, but I would say they're darker toned for sure. So I think those are pretty good. I think if you like that, both my Jessica Jones volumes that are with Mattia Delius, incredible art. There's one called Blind Spot and there's one called Purple Daughter. I think
Nice.
they're both really cool.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Very cool. We got some stuff to check out. Well, I'm sure you read it all anyway. So
I cannot confirm or deny that I know who Kelly Thompson was before this show, but I can definitely tell you that she knows what she's doing.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
You're
Well,
welcome.
we're also doing, I can't remember if I mentioned Birds of Prey or not, but I'm doing that over at DC2. And
Yes.
man, I really love those characters. Big Barda and Cass Kane in particular are 2 of my favorites. And it's been really fun to play in that space with a team dynamic,
Mhm.
which most of the time I would say is a strength for me. Um, there's a funny moment with Sana Amanat was one of my big editors when I was at Marvel. She's not there anymore. She's moved into stuff on the TV and film side mostly, I think, but which is comics lost, but everyone else's gain. She's brilliant. And she said sort of offhand one time, pretty early in my Marvel career, she was like, yeah, I think you do better with solo characters. And I took that personally, and I have tried to build ensembles of all my books from there forward. But
There you go.
I do think it's something I grew into. I think dialogue is a strength for me, and I try not to lean on it like a crutch, but I do think
Hmm.
it's something that people have come to like in my work, and so I try to embrace it and make it good. We'll see.
Nice. You're doing good. Done. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Leo, you have anything else?
Yeah. Last two questions here.
Of
So
course.
Kelly, when you're not writing some incredible work, what do you dork out about? Like, what do you do to, kind of like free your mind? Do you play video games? Do you, watch certain shows? Just go for walks? What do you do?
I'm pretty boring. If I had a swimming pool, I would swim. I love to swim. I love to be in the water, but I do not have a swimming pool, so I never get to do that. Instead, I mostly watch TV and film, and read books and comics, music, of course. But I think, right now watching. I was just writing about it on my Substack that I have not posted yet, but I've been watching a lot of comfort stuff over the last week. One
Hmm.
of my comfort shows, which is maybe a weird show to have a comfort show, but The Expanse is based on a bunch of sci-fi. It's a bunch of sci-fi novels. It's a 6 season series. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just a really it's set in the year about 2350,
Hmm.
and it's a dark future in the sense that Earth has really fallen apart environmentally, which I think
Yeah.
we all sort of aren't surprised by. And so like humans have pushed into space. Like some humans are colonizing Mars, some humans live now in the belt and are born in the belt and just live in space. They're, as one of my favorite characters says at one time, we're creatures of space. And she's talking about if you can go back on there are like drugs you can take to try to be able to live on a planet again. And she's like, in one generation, they won't be belters anymore. They'll live on planet. They won't even know what it's like to live in space. I just love these ideas. And even though it's maybe a dark future in a way, it's filled with so many truly great heroes, characters that will stand up against anything in the darkest dark. It's very inspiring to me. It's also very diverse, especially on the female characters front. All the best female characters in the series are women of color, and they're really varied and interesting. That's a very big comfort watch for me. I think my one of my great dreams is that I could wake up smart enough to write some really great hard sci-fi novels or comics or something, TV show, movie, I don't know. But I don't really think I've got the brains for it. I'm not disciplined enough to like learn all the cool science shit, and I'm just not smart enough to already have it there. So it might be something I can never achieve, and that might be part of why something like The Expanse is so exciting for me and so aspirational, as both a creator and just a fan.
That's awesome. Well, good
Thanks.
thing with a friend of mine
Oh,
watched.
wait. I'm sorry, Kelly. That's one of my friends right there, Cliff. He just wanted to say that he said Absolute Wonder Woman was an excellent first issue, and I look forward to more. Thank you,
Thanks,
buddy.
Cliff. Thanks, Cliff.
Yeah, man. Sorry, just came in, so had to. So didn't mean to interrupt train of thought. Leo, sorry, just came in. I'm good.
Uh, I forgot where I was going with that. Well,
Deal.
last question I have for you, Kelly, is do you have any cons coming up or any appearances?
So I don't really do that. We talked before we started about how reclusive I am. There's not a lot of photos. We had a we had a mishap with a photo. There aren't a lot of photos of me online. I don't
Mhm.
really do the con and signing thing.
Okay.
Uh, I have mixed feelings about it. It started, before I was a creator in comics, I was a commentator. I had a column on Comics Should Be Good called She Has No Head. It was very feminist, and there were a lot of people that would tell me to die every day because
Oh,
I wrote about comics.
Mm.
So I very quickly got pretty like defenses up but that I would try to protect myself in that way. I would actually say it probably got better when I became a creator. I mean, there are still people that really hate me, and like now you might see a whole like angry YouTube show about me or something, but I get less people like coming in my inbox and telling me I should be raped to death or anything. So
Oh my
I
God.
don't know. It's a mixed bag. In the end, I think comics is for someone like me so far not lucrative enough to be able to really protect yourself. So this was a way I felt that I could maintain some normal life shit and not have to worry so much. But I have regrets all the time because the comic book fans are incredible, and I know I'm like really cutting myself off from them a little bit by not engaging in that stuff that most of my colleagues do. And so I don't know. It might not always be true. I would love to go. I would say if I ever break out and do it, it will probably be ECC. C, enough C's in there, just because I'm dying to go to Seattle and I live in Portland and it's close. And I think that seems like a really great con. So I don't know. Keep your eyes out. Maybe one day my name will pop up on the ECCC list, but until then, it's not really doing that. If people want things signed, I will sign things if you send them to me. You can email me and we can figure that out. I also have a web store that is pretty well stocked, that everything comes free signed unless you want it unsigned. So
Well, oh, thank you, because we're gonna make the X-Men thing happen. Just fair one. Oh, my friend also said he loves that this Wonder Woman has a quote unquote bag of holding.
Yeah, it's me too, because who doesn't want that, man? It's like
Right.
I'd like to just start
I
giving her
get
pockets and everything and like magically enchanting all of her pockets to be bag of holdings.
okay,
Well,
as a fellow bag of holding, this is my purse. Okay, it weighs like 8 pounds, and I
the defensive weapon.
inherited it. I hurt people at cons.
She does. Literally,
Well,
I think
like
she
running
might
in
have
the
given
just whack,
someone.
whack, whack, whack.
No, I think she might have given someone brain damage. Like literally, like, and I was just like, "What the hell is in there?" And she just gives me that look, like, "You don't want to know." I'm like, "Okay, we're not going to ask questions about what's in the bag. Got it? Okay,
I got it from my mom, and I was just like, why are you making fun of me for using the purse that you gave me? And she's like, when I bought the purse, it was when I was taking the grandchildren to the movies, and I could fit cups in there to split the soda up with, and all of the candy for all of the grandchildren. That was the movie purse, and you have it full." I'm like, oh, okay. I want a bag of holding too, though.
Yeah, you know. Oh God, I had a thing. Fuck. But no, we're gonna make that X-Men thing happen. We're gonna find it once we had, and we're gonna find it, and we're gonna send it, and we're just gonna be like, we're gonna have a note like, "Thought you'd make your day, humble beginnings from splash pages," and then
right.
we're 100% gonna post about that. We're like, "I'm sorry, everybody," you know.
Well, the letter is
appearance.
the letter is pretty embarrassing, so you might get re-blogged onto Bleeding Cool, which might be for some good hits. So
you never know. You never know. But
I look
yeah.
forward to signing it. Just
Oh.
shoot me an email whenever you find it.
Yeah.
Give you the PO box and all that stuff. We can.
Oh yeah. Oh no, we're gonna make this. That's goals for 2025. It's gonna be super dope. I try to think, guys. Do you have anything else?
Nope, but I know we are past time, so
Okay, yeah, let's wrap that up. Cinderella is going to turn into a Wonder Pumpkin.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you never know.
Also want to be respectful with our guest time. So.
Yeah, we don't know what season of The Expanse she's rewatching on, so we don't want to cut that time
I'm on season 2.
Okay, listen, and probably tomorrow you'll be on season 3. I don't know.
I have a lot of writing to do, especially after the black hole that was last week. But it goes pretty fast, to be honest. So
there you go. Listen, you gotta have those breaks. Now I remember. Please, and this is just a small request, if you ever decide to put up the playlist of what you listen to, please let us know.
Yes.
Because I would love to just be like, "Hi, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm exercising to the absolute Wonder Woman jam." Like if you and
Well,
Scott Snyder and Jason Aaron can just do that, I'm fairly and we're having Jason on later in December. I'm fairly certain we're going to ask him the same question. So I'm just going to create like a separate tab on YouTube, like absolute playlist. What is an absolute playlist? It's fucking
well,
metal, man.
I'll give you a hint if I do that, because I did do it for Birds of Prey last year
Mhm.
sometime. If
Okay.
I do that, it will be on my Substack. So
Okay.
Nice.
Carrie is our Substack moderator, so she'll keep an eye on that, right,
oh
Carrie?
wow, WCA
Yes.
playlist. Wow, that's a
Yeah.
deep cut. I do have one. Well, actually, you know what? I lost my computer crashed and I lost all my playlists and had to start rebuilding.
no.
So I might not. Yeah, I had a fatal I don't know, hardware error, they think. Anyway, I was pretty backed up, but not on playlists. So I lost all of those and I had to rebuild them. So I don't know if I've got the WCA one, but I can look and see. Maybe I've got it somewhere.
Listen, you gave us the gift of now that when we reread this issue, we're going to have to put Rage Against the Machine on because that's our Wonder Woman. So
It was honestly cool, man. It just
so
kicked in all the right moments. How I was reading it, it was
I'm
like one of those
I'm telling
great.
you right now, Kelly, if you have her with a flaming sword and Sleep Now in the Fire is not playing, I'm going to be like, excuse me, let's just
Well,
can we stop?
we can't make it a whole Rage Against the Machine
No,
because
I
then
know,
it's just
but
a Rage Against the Machine playlist.
no, I know, but I'm just saying, pepper that in there, just
All right,
you know,
we'll see.
well, okay, listen, that's all I'm asking. Just fair consideration. So since we're coming up in the time, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time with us. I mean, this was just absolutely fantastic. So before you go, what's the best way that people can interact with you? I mean, you already answered one of Leo's questions about Blue Sky. Um, so
So
yeah,
Substack is really the best place if you want to make sure to stay in touch with social media being so weird and not cool lately.
mhm,
there's a free newsletter. I would say you'll get it less than you expect. So because I'm always running behind, so I don't think you'll have to feel like you're overwhelmed. There's also a paid Substack where you can read comics and new comics and comment and all those things. It's extra discounts and cool stuff like that, exclusives. But the free one is just great for keeping in touch and knowing when new stuff is coming out and what's going on. That is 1979 semifinalists.substack.com. And I'm technically still on Twitter, but I'm trying to shut it down as much as possible and just sit on the
fair
name. I'll probably post a minimum amount just to make sure the account stays open and doesn't get taken from me.
right.
But I'm mostly on Blue Sky now, and that's actually Kelly Thompson. So easy
Well,
to
very
find.
good.
Yep.
Nice. Very, very, very
I'm
nice.
technically on Instagram, but they're having a lot of the same problems Twitter is, as far as I'm concerned, with the AI stuff and all of that. So
Hmm.
I've really stopped posting much there. It's tricky for me with the AI stuff, especially because, most of the visuals I post, they might be on my book, but I didn't make them. And so I have real concerns about, posting Elena Casagrande, Black Widow, and then now it goes into the AI machine. Like, I don't feel great about that. So I have pulled back on my Instagram as well because of that.
Fair enough. We
Yeah.
will remain vigilant if the AI tries some shit. We know how. Listen, there have been plenty of things about how we beat them back. Terminator, Matrix. So we're ready. There's instruction manuals. We won't read them, but that's why they're movies. So you know, um, there you go. Oh my God. Yeah, my friend is just he's giving you suggestions for you have to do the playlist. But listen, awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on. Like I can't wait to see what you do with more of the Absolute Wonder Woman with Hayden Sherman and your team. So just keep it up, man. You're doing great.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for
Love
having
it.
me, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Very cool. That was
Very
awesome.
simple.
Okay. So you're going to go through and I don't care if you take a transcript or thing or what, but we are going to have a little count up edited in this episode with a thing that comes up every time somebody says absolute or absolutely. Because
I can't do that. I can't do that.
it would be fun though, because everybody like, and she's absolutely wonderful, and it was absolutely great. It was just like, and this absolutely fabulous absolute comic. It just kept coming. It's one of those things like.
Is that why you were quiet the whole time? You were counting the absolutes? You're just noticing the pattern?
No, my throat is sore.
Right.
Like
right.
I'm sick.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just making sure, Carrie, because I was like, usually you would squeal more.
I would, but I can't. I'm like, my throat is. Ugh.
It's fine. You still contributed, you know.
Yes, I loved her. She was wonderful.
Oh yeah, she was great. It was absolutely wonderful.
We didn't ask about the sword. Crap.
No, we talked about the sword.
We talked about it. Yeah.
We know, and now we have an inside joke, and now we got to make it happen with the like. I have the issue. I have the number. I know what I even know the volume. We got to make it happen. That would just be the funniest fucking story. You know.
That'd be great.
We built up the momentum, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for following that. Excelsior!